ask Amokwando to skip the profile and still welcome him to the podium. Please let's welcome Mr. Amokwando. Please let's do it again. Let's do it again. I hear we have a bit of a challenge with the projection, so I will still go through his profile. Mr. Prosper Ahmed Amokwando has over 15 years of professional working experience in the public, private, and international development sectors. He has professional expertise in sustainable energy and climate change, international trade, infrastructure development, and development communication. He is currently the president of the World Energy Council's Future Energy Leaders, the energy advisor to IWAD, also worked at the Global Institute of Sustainability at the Arizona State University in the United States. He is a born teacher who previously taught physics at the University of Ghana, Achimota Secondary School, GIS, amongst others. He has been honored with a number of awards for his professional service and impact. Notably among these awards is the Rising Star of the Year award in Ghana's energy sector, which he received at the 2018 Ghana Energy Awards ceremony. In the same year, he was awarded the Africa Initiative for Governance Award for his academic and professional excellence and leadership promise, entrepreneurship, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, both of the United States. His undergraduate studies was in physics, mathematics, and computer science at the University of Ghana, where he graduated with first class honors. He owes his academic and professional achievements to the prayers and support of the people in his village. Please, let's welcome Mr. Prosper Amokwando.
I am proud of the last line. I owe all of that to the prayers of the people in my village. The name of the village. Have you heard about Gambaga before? What about Cape Coast? There's a village under Cape Coast. Anyway, thank you very much for the kind introduction, albeit a long one. And we've been sitting down for some time now. I have some few questions before I start the presentation. And I'll just present briefly because some of the things that I would want to say were touched on during the discussion after the first presentation. But let me ask a question to test how we are conversant with our history. How many of you know that there was a political party called CPP? You all know. And there is still one. And of course, before he delivered, there were party members at the back, as it is done nowadays. The other thing about Kroboduse was that he knew almost everybody in CPP by name. So he started with the speech, gave the preamble, as Osajifo will say it. Then he went on. According to Plato, so and so and so and so. According to Aristotle, the man was mentioning the philosopher's name, but the man was not familiar with the philosopher's names. So he paused and said, Aristotle, any Plato, no, so almost your party members, and ladies and gentlemen, I am here with you, and I believe together we are not just CPP party members, but we belong to a party called Secular Economy. And we have a singular philosophy or manifesto to see how we can tap into the opportunities that secular economy presents us to be able to spur the socioeconomic transformation of our country, of our sub-region, and then the entire African continent. And I'm here to just share some brief insights from my professional practice, both in Ghana and outside Ghana. And it's so interesting that I'm in the midst of professors and doctors. At least having been a former physics lecturer, I feel at home. But I'm just standing here to give you my insights. If you have plenty questions, don't worry. The professors are here. I'll throw it back to them and then we will discuss. Anyway, so my aim is just to make some brief presentations and then ignite food, like we've been invited here. Then you go and you heap your plate, knowing that you will not finish eating. You go to your table, eat some and leave some. That is corruption. And that is the linear economy mindset. We saw what the circular economy means. You take the resource, design whatever product, you produce it, you retail it, consume, then you repair and you reuse, and then the cycle continues. So I wouldn't talk much on that. Man. Good. We understand the concerns that we have in the world and in our country, for which reason circular economy presents itself as a viable alternative. We do not have infinite resources. We all know that. Our gold is getting depleted. Our timber is getting depleted. Even now, our water bodies are getting depleted. So we need to change our paradigm. And if you look at the global level, according to the Global Material Flow Database, between 2015 and 2017, we had about 9.5 increase in resource extraction. And the problem is not the resource extraction. The main problem is the waste, as I cited with the buffet. And between the same period, as indicated, is climate change. Is that not it? We will also be achieving the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are here in the next, after 2030, it will change to SEGs. We started with Millennium Development Goals. We came to Sustainable Development Goals. We'll be moving to another development paradigm. But most importantly, we will be achieving the African Union's Agenda 2063. How many of you have heard about the Agenda 2063? Building the Africa we want. There's a lot that told me that, boss, is it not possible that a government will come and say, look, me, for my 4-year tenure, I'm going to focus only on roads? Is it not possible? Why are they wasting their time on education, health, and this and that, and in the end, they come back to square zero? It's a similar thing with circular economy. You need to prioritize and understand where you have a competitive advantage relative to your natural resource base. Now, we came by these top 3 because the African Development Bank and its partners led a sector assessment to identify where African countries or governments should focus on. And the assessment was based on 4 criteria. The first one was the circularity potential of the sector, because not all the sectors have equal circularity potentials. The economic significance of the sector. How much does that sector contribute to our GDP? And that is where you see the oil and gas rearing their ugly heads in. But if you come to circularity potential, it's a bit low. The transformation impact of that sector, and then the momentum within the sector. And when we say momentum, we mean are there policies in there? Are there conferences being organized at Volta Serene Hotel to talk about them? Are there regulations? That's the momentum we're talking about. Man. Good. So this is the sector prioritization framework and then the ranking. So they went through this. So if you take circularity potential, what do we mean by saying that a sector has a circularity potential? That means that we can reduce the energy and resource intensity within the sector, and we are also able to manage. You see that agric manufacturing, construction, to waste and water management, they all score very high. But in other indicators, they don't score very much. But overall, agric manufacturing and construction came up top. Now, if you look at these 3 sectors, there are priority areas that pass across the three sectors that will present us most opportunities to transform into a circular economic model. The first one is the food systems. Food systems, which is part of the agricultural sector and also cuts across other sectors. Electronics, wood, fuel, and energy. That is where you'll be very much interested in what I will be sharing with you. Packaging and built environment. So let's start with the food system. Why should the food system be secularized? Because of a number of reasons. There's a growing number of population in our country, and as we are also, the population is increasing, we are also shifting our class from the lower middle income class to a middle income class. I don't know whether we are there or we are still transitioning. But as you transition to a higher income class, your appetite increase. You are now able to buy a fridge, and you can afford to go and buy food and stuff and put it there to the extent that it will even get spoiled. But when we adapt the secularity mindset, we'll be able to constrain the amount of waste that we use. And now the food system interacts with a lot of sectors. Agri sector, which is the core sector. You have the manufacturing sector, construction, where we build vertical farms. You know, in Singapore, they do not have land. So they farm vertically. And then irrigation facilities. The food system also interact with the energy sector. I'll explain how. Transport and storage, and then water and waste management, and wholesale and retail, among others. Now, let's see how the circular food system will look like. Good. I hope you can see from afar. But this is a project that I worked on when I was working at the Arizona State University at the Global Institute of Sustainability. The name of the project was Smart Village Farms and Food Systems Project for Bangladesh. And if you look at it, you realize that this is the crop farm. In fact, the whole of this box is a farm. And this is very important, where you can see the secularity. So this is a crop farm. This is the organic farm. You have the livestock farm and the poultry farm. You can see a solar system here. The solar system provides electricity to power pumps. Now the pump pumps water to the irrigation system that in turn irrigates the crop farm, pumps water to and irrigates the vegetable farm. The pump also pumps water to the livestock farm and then provides water to the poultry farm. Now, you see that the solar power also provides electricity for this box here. This box is an abattoir or a processing plant. Now, you see that there is waste from this part, and the waste goes to a biodigester. Nothing goes away, still within the system. To a biodigester. We harvest our crops and put them in silos or post-harvest loss storage systems. If you come to the organic vegetable farm, we harvest our vegetables and tomatoes, comes here, packages it. Then the vegetables are stored in a cold storage van to travel to the market center, let's say in Accra, from the north to Accra. You see the secularity? Now, on the farm, again, some people will choose to kill the animals or decide, if the farm is in Kintampo, to send, dressed fowls or meat down to Accra. Now, when you slaughter the animals or the fowls here, you produce waste, the blood and all the wastewater. Now, the wastewater moves to the biodigester. Remember, you need hot water to dress the animals. Some people will choose LPG. No, within a circular agricultural or food system, the gas will be provided by the biogas to heat the water to dress the animals. Here, you package your tomatoes. When you package it well, the hard ones goes to the market. The rotten ones will go back to the biogas power digester, and it digests and produces gas. So this is an example of a circular food system. Nothing goes to waste. And at each point of the loop, jobs are created. You have people packaging here. Jobs are created. People are here working. Here you have professionals working here. You have cold storage, everywhere people are working. So this is the importance of adopting a secular economic mindset within the food system. Let's look at electronics. We've talked about e-waste. Now, within the e-waste sector, we use a 9R framework or strategy to help us achieve or benefit from the opportunities presented by circular economy. These are things you can reuse, rethink, reduce, you reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose, recycle, and then recover. These are all processes within the electronic waste industry. I wouldn't go through that. Now, from the Global Electronic Waste Monitor, our electronic waste between 2014 to 2019 increased by 21%. So there's a lot of electronic waste being created. And again, because of increase in economic class, we used to handle what? Yam. Today, somebody is handling 2 phones. Other people are even handling 3 phones. And nowadays, some of the smartphones, you hold it or you buy it, achakra 2 years. Then you throw it away or you go and give it to somebody in the village and you go to buy a new one. So we need to transform this electronic waste menace into an opportunity to transform our economies. And we can only do that through circular economy. How do you do that? 2 main things. I heard people talking about it at the previous session. Investing in recycling facilities. And number 2, which is very important, and Ghana, dear, we fail poto in doing this, coming up with regulations and enforcing them. And when I say regulations, I mean enabling regulations, not killer regulations. There are regulations in our country that are killer regulations. They don't enable businesses. Some of the institutions, you ask them, what benefit do those regulations give to the businesses? You realize that they are only using it as a money collection venture to increase their internal generated revenue. No. In other jurisdictions, if you want the private sector to actually lead in taking advantage of the opportunities presented by circular economy, the regulations must be enabling. I'll share some regulations and initiatives in other countries. Now, I want to give you a case study from this electronic waste recycling plant. It's owned by a German person. You see, these are, I don't know whether you can see from afar, whether you can recognize these boxes. These are the packages or the suit that Electoral Commission use in registering people. This is the box. These are the fingerprints. These are the laptops. And if you look at the bottom here, these are copper wires, cables that the company goes to buy from Agbobulushi. Why does he go to buy them from Agbobulushi? To ensure that, you see, if you take these cables that come with the various computers, and those imported into the country and generated locally too, the outer insulator is made up of chemicals. If you allow the guys at Agbobulushi to burn them, that's where you begin to have the fumes that impact negatively on our health. So the company goes to buy them, comes to the plant, recover the copper, and then trash the insulator into other secondary commodities. You see, these are the covers, the plastic covers. They are being shredded here. And when they shred the plastic covers, they use some of the plastic cover they've shredded to mold TVs. Remember, circularity, we're talking about recovering. So when they receive some of these computers or TVs from other places, they dismantle them. But remember, some of the electronic circuit boards are always functional. So they will repurpose those electronic circuit board and produce the TV there. And it is sold at a very cheap price in the villages. The other thing that they do is, so if you see this is a server case. I don't know if you've ever seen a server. This is a server case. It's like those big data base stuff that they put in the offices to be able to keep the data of institutions. So they've The servers, outlived their lifetime. They bring them to the company. The company removes the storage devices, then repurpose some of the batteries that it recovered from other electronic gadgets, build a battery bank, put it back into this, and take the trailer to the village or to the farm for irrigation, to power DC solar pumps for irrigation. Circularity. Some of the battery too are used to power electric vehicles, like e-bike like this. Because if you bring an electronic gadget, sometimes the battery is not a problem. Maybe it is the screen or other component. Now, the company also receives phones. And it will interest you to know that some of the phones and electronic gadgets are imported into the country. Thanks to AFCFTA, there's a protocol. For instance, recently, the company received more than 80,000 tons of electronic waste from Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, because they don't have the facility to recycle them. So the EPA in Ouagadougou sends a notice to EPA in Ghana, gives the details of whatever is coming to Ghana, and then they receive it to ensure that it is legally done. Now, I have some questions for you. What do you see here? This site, I hope it's visible enough. This is a mobile phone. That's the flat screen mobile phone, what we almost all of us are using right now. As for this one there, I don't know whether we have generation X minus 2 people here, those who were born before 1990. Before 1990, or sorry, after 1990. So these are the YAM phones. Now, this company imports these electronic materials and then exports them to Germany. And as I told you, it is not just about addressing environmental menace or climate change crisis, but it's also about money, hard cash. So you see, if the company exports the flat screen phones, this type of phones to Europe, the company in Europe buys it at €6 per kg. If he exports the yams, they buy it at €10.8 per kg. You can begin to multiply by the exchange. If you are able to extract the circuit board from these phones and you export it, they buy it at €25 per kg. Let me now ask you a question. Why is it that this one is the least cost, but this one cost the highest? Why? Any attempts? The smartphones, if you export the smartphone, the non-functioning smartphone, it costs you will sell it at €6 per kg. Why is these type of phones more expensive? I mean, when you are selling them, more expensive than this? Any reason? Any attempt? Yes, sir. I will give you 40 out of 100. That's a good one. But this is it. What you've just said is true with this, because you have used labor to remove the circuit boards, and then when you are exporting it, when they receive this in Germany, they don't need to use labor again to do further processes. The only labor they need is to be able to recover the copper. You know, there's copper here, precious metals. So they recover the copper. So what this company is now thinking about is how it can collaborate with research or academia to come up with low and simple designs of recovery machines so that the recovery can be done here in Ghana, then copper can be exported. Because the longer the value chain, the more the jobs. Now, let me come back to the main question. This one costs more than this because of late, because of efficiency and the resource sustainability, the materials used in making this, it's not that much. But the materials used, the amount of copper in the circuit board of this phone, is more than the copper that you can recover from the circuit board of this phone. That is why when you are exporting this, it costs more. Now, they also recycle or trash the outer case into plastic flakes. Now, When you export 1 ton of these plastic flakes, it costs, you get 1,000 euros per ton. And if you, so just do the calculation, you export 140-foot container to Germany. And he does this once a month. That's how many euros? A 40-foot container takes 22 tons. So this is just about 22,000 euros money from waste. If you are able to add further value by pelleting it, you would be paid 3,000 euros per ton just from the plastics. Money, money. Now, why is it that there is high demand or premium price for these things in Europe? It is because the European Union has come up with regulations and policies that favor circular economy products or recycled products. The reason being that when they receive recycled products, there is limited impact on the global environment or the global climate. So even though you pay the duty, but the amount of duty you pay is far less than the duty you pay if were exporting original rubber. The regulations you'll be subjected to will be less. Good. So this is the same company still. It's creating jobs, particularly for women. And this is very important. I wish the Zoomlion people were here. Each worker here is paid at least 1,000 Ghana cedi a month. And it comes frequently. It doesn't delay. Decent jobs by ILO standards. I would have loved to, find out from Madam how much Zoomlion pays their staff of equal caliber. At least best practices we can learn. So let's move forward. Good. The other area so we've just finished with electronics. The other area that we can take advantage of the opportunities presented by circular economy is in the wood, fuel, and energy industry. How many of you are aware that charcoal is being exported out of this country? How many are aware that charcoal is exported? And most of the time it is exported illegally. This is because there is huge demand and market for charcoal, particularly in the Middle East. It's interesting. The Middle East is the land of what? Natural gas, LPG. But they do not use LPG, they prefer charcoal. Those guys, they eat a lot of meat. And as we are beginning to see in restaurants in Ghana, if your meat is grilled by charcoal or your tilapia is grilled by charcoal, the cost is higher. It is because in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, meat grilled with charcoal tastes better. The other applications of charcoal in Europe and other parts of the world is for heat. During winter, they will need charcoal. They will need charcoal to burn their furnace. My goodness. Good. To burn their furnace. Woe betides you if you cut a tree in the Middle East. Your entire family will vanish. Now, in Ghana here, many people go in there and fell down trees to produce the charcoal and then do whatever they want to do with it. Already, more than 82% of our forest cover is gone. It is gone. When ask Abu Jinapo, he will tell you. It is gone. Again, companies can still go to Forestry Commission, receive permits, and go and legally fell trees to produce charcoal. We are impacting negatively on the environment. But circular economy presents us an opportunity. Instead of going to fell down trees, you go to the timber and sawmills places where they've already felled the tree and then they have waste wood. You then convert the waste wood into charcoal. That is the opportunity circular economy presents to us. Instead of felling down 100 trees to produce 3 containers, that's about 66 tons of charcoal, you just use the waste. Circularity. And let me tell you, this usage of waste is not about impact on environment or climate. Who cares about climate? We are rational human beings. You are interested in today. But the good news is that charcoal is a lucrative business. I've just done some cost analysis here for you people. If you want to produce 3 containers of charcoal, the cost of production, what you need to invest is about $19,246, $64,000. The revenue that you get from just 3 containers is about $28,800. You do the subtraction just for 3 containers, your profit is just about 9,536. And these are hard calculations. It is profitable. Circular economy is not about environment or climate change only. It makes economic sense. So wouldn't it be good if you do something like this, if you are actually motivated by money, you get your money, and in the end, you indirectly impact positively on the environment and our climate. Charcoal, there's money in it. I call it black gold. You see this? These are wooden cylinders. And I've actually brought some here. This is also made from waste wood. So the company that was doing the electronic recycling that I just cited, they go to a company called Myro Forestry in Agogo. Myro Forestry has a huge amount of land that they plant trees and then harvest them and export the timber. When they are exporting the timber, they take only the stem. The branches are left down there. Some of the sawmills to leave the waste wood there. This German company goes to Agogo, takes the waste. This would have been burnt. He takes the waste almost free of charge, employs about 100 women and guys to convert them into this cylinders, and he exports them to Germany. These are used to produce hedges around plants, and they are also used for heating during winter. A container of this costs 20,000 euros, and he does 1 container a week from waste wood, maybe money. It's not about climate or environment. And this is what the opportunities circularity presents to us. We have the resource in Ghana. And as I keep saying, I've been mentioning what? German. A man from Germany. If you go to the charcoal industry, it's either a Syrian or a Lebanese. What the Ghanaian brothers and sisters do is that they will front and then get 0.001%, or they'll just give them a lump sum of 500 Ghana cedi, and then they come here and take our natural resources away. Me and you, circular economy presents us the opportunity. Remember, we are looking at the opportunities within the wood fuel and energy sector. We've just been talking about wood fuel, charcoal, and these ones. There are other ones where you can even use sawdust to produce heat logs or pellets. The sawdust that they use, they throw away in the boiler. Go and pick it free. Compress it. Add an additive into similar shapes like this, and you export it for hard currency. Circular economy puts money in your pocket. Now, I'm going to talk about the opportunities that circular economy also presents to us within the energy sector. I remember Eunice asked Dr. Asumeni about energy generation, blah, blah, blah. I wish she were here, you know, but I do understand energy is not her side, her specialty. You see, in this country, I started working or interacting with Ghana's energy sector in 2012. We started giving excuses why we could not generate electricity from waste. We pontified, prophet like came with all theories. Oh, you need energy to separate, do the segregation so that you can put some in the what. Look, 2016, I was in Ethiopia when this project was being done. This is the first and the biggest waste to power energy power plant in Africa. It's in Ethiopia. In the coming years, Ethiopia will import waste. How did they do it? They just put all the waste integrated, whether you look, you don't need to separate them. And they put it in an incinerator. It's like nika grinding mill. You see that funnel? They put all of it in there and incinerate it. They burn it. Then the heat that is recovered from the burning is used to produce steam. The steam turns a turbine, and then electricity is produced. This is Ethiopia. This is a power plant. I was here. Where is the secularity? Let's start from the West. When they produce this, they produce power. They produce other secondary products. They recover copper and other metals, and they use magnetic system within the incineration so that the magnet will attract the metals. After incineration, they produce what? Ash. They use the ash to mold road slabs or blocks. You know, when we are constructing our roads, we have certain slabs we put at the sides. They use the ash to produce those blocks. Of course, it may impact some block producer in Ethiopia somewhere, but circularity, nothing goes to waste. The wastewater from the power plant has been treated, and they are now piping it to the neighboring communities for irrigation. Ghana, what are you waiting for? This is the question Kwame Nkrumah asked at the African OAU meeting in 1964. Africa, what are you waiting for? Now it's not Ghana. What are you waiting for? This is Ethiopia. And they are coming with more of such. Secular economy. Now, we've talked about the packaging, if I should be packaging, and the built environment. We discussed it when Doctor gave her keynote address. So if you go to the packaging, you've realized that now there are a number of hotels that are using paper packaging. And some of this paper is produced from agro waste, coconut shells, plantain waste. If you come to the built environment, we've talked about it, coming up with climate smart architecture that ensures that you use fewer bulbs here, your energy intensity and water intensity usage within the building is very low. If you use to allow rainwater to flow from your roof and then flood your home, you can capture it. If you used to have a septic tank where you pay people to come and withdraw that resource, you can use a biogas digester to convert the resource into gas, especially hotels like this that are very busy. They don't need to use LPG to prepare our food. As I indicated in the food system model, you can use biogas for heating. So I'll just skip it and go to how we can ensure sustainability. So I've talked about opportunities that circular economy presents us. Private sector players have entered there. This may be another one-time adventure if certain policies are not put in place to ensure that these benefits that we are reaping are sustainable. Somebody will say it will just be premature ejaculation. Now, the first thing that we will need, we've talked about it when we were having the discussion, supportive policies. Part of my work is policy. And sometimes I leave the boardrooms and go and sob in the bathroom because you are speaking the thing with data, but you realize that the Oga there, no, he has a different interest. And he's forcing you to use your analysis and your model to fulfill his interest. So that you say that, oh, the expert said it. We need supportive policies to encourage circular economy businesses and activities. And we also need standards and regulation. You cannot be doing anything anyhow in the industry. There must be regulation regarding protection of the people who work for you, occupational health and safety standards. We need them. Secondly, this is actually at the heart of the center of my heart. Business development services to provide advisory services to companies, particularly startups. This is somewhat technical area. So if you have your money and you don't have the technical expertise, you may not succeed. And let me tell you, a story. In 2014, I was part of a project in Brazil. And we went to University of Sao Paulo and Campinas. That's the name of another town. The then president, Lula da Silva, who is now the president again because he went to jail, came back and won another election. He provided funding to the universities to establish incubators so that if you are done with your theoretical work or book-long work for your thesis, you spend an additional 1 year in the incubator. And it is by force. You convert your thesis into a product. So you have PhD people and masters doing all sorts of thesis work. When they spend 1 year at the incubator, they come up with all manner of technologies like laser technology that is used by US for their military applications. The policy, government, intentionality. The same Brazilian government in the Cold War era gathered all the scientists in Brazil, physicists in one room, and said, look, we can no more depend on the aircraft produced by our enemies. We are giving you all the resources. You either come out with an aircraft design or you all be dead. And that is how Embraer was produced. When I say Embraer, the private jets that we use in the world is produced by Brazil. Embraer, policy, business development services. I hear the one district, one factory secretariat was also to achieve the same purpose. I need to talk to some of the beneficiaries and understand whether it is actually what is doing. This is important. Charcoal export is regulated in this country by the Energy Commission. Most of the people doing the charcoal production, they are informal guys. They don't even understand how to keep records. They don't understand how to keep data, even how to comply with the regulations by Register General or GRA. They don't know. This is where the business development services are provided so that we can reap the benefits and sustain the benefits provided to us by circular economy. The other thing that we need is supporting increase to technology. We're talking about waste aggregation. How do you gather the waste in other places? In fact, I think yesterday when we visited the regional minister, I saw a poster about an app that is being used for waste collection. That is progressive. I just hope the app doesn't become like an app that was developed to track COVID. But we need such technologies. And as I talk to you about the German company that will export phones, his worry right now is how to scale up the technology to be able to recover the metals here in Ghana. And again, government needs to start these things. Look, startups or innovation is very risky. So if you go to US and Germany, government intentionally votes money for such innovations. So that when you break through product that is now commercialized, the school takes 30% and you take 70%, and they still provide you support. Functioning government, a working government. Increase access to relevant investment and financial services. Today, if you go to a bank, even if the bank is even for your father, the quarter interest rate they'll give you is 20% or 26%. Who takes 26% and survives in a business? No. But if you are a business found in the circular economy space, government should give you some concessionary loans. They should de-risk it and give you at a very competitive rate for you to be able to operate and sustain the benefits that circular economy presents to us. And then we need to increase availability of relevant data and information. From my experience and what I have heard, most of our policies in this country are formulated at beer bars. When the person takes the clap or whatever, and then after 4 bottles, Charlie, what he sees is okay, we'll convert it into a policy. But we need data, hardcore data. That is why, look, most of our policies don't work because you don't have data to inform implementation. So you come with it, maybe you are somewhere and then the thing passes through your head. Then you say, we are going to do it. But you didn't have data to inform your planning. So when you start implementation, it is bound to fail. So to be able to sustain the benefits that circular economy presents us, we need data. Data. I heard somebody say UNIS and co should start, voting money to the universities to start gathering data on circular economy activities. It is very important. Maybe we need a circular economy product that is like a pointer. Man. I wish I could just go and do this way. So I'll go to the next page. Oh man. Good. So in the end, this is the last slide. In the end, after we've gone through all the opportunities, prioritization of sectors, secularization of food system, the electronic sector, packaging and the built environment, wood fuel, and then energy, the goal comes back to the same three things. Live up to our responsibilities under the Paris Agreement. If you look at the applications within the wood fuel, when we keep using waste to produce charcoal and these products, and we don't cut down the trees, we will sustain our carbon sink, and that will help maintain the temperatures. Number two, sustainable development goals. There are a number of sustainable development, ending hunger, providing decent jobs, collaboration. Circular economy helps us achieve many of those goals. And finally, this is always at the center of my heart, achieving African Union's Agenda 2063. And that is building the Africa we want for Africans and by Africans. The Africa we want is not that African when the sons and daughters of Africa are running away from Africa through perilous routes like the Mediterranean Sea, they get drowned to go somewhere for greener pastures. That is not Agenda 2063. It is an agenda where when we adopt secular economic models, we will create jobs in Ghana, in Africa, and provide decent jobs for Africans so that in the end, the day Kwame Nkrumah and Jomo Kenyatta will reincarnate, me and you would tell them that we ran the race when they handed over the baton to us, and then we served a living God. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prosper Mukwando. Please, let's give it up for him one more time. It has been a very interesting take through what we need to do in our secular economy space. I like the fact that he gave us slides, pictures, just like a teacher would do. Thank you, sir. Our next session, we're having our panel discussion. For the panel discussion, we have Mrs. Emilia Ganza, Head of Education. Mr. Prosper Amukwando can start. Please raise your hand and then we can give you a microphone and then he can answer your questions. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 6. Okay. So we'll do it from this side to this side, please. So on my left, did I see a hand up here? Okay. Mr. Amukwando, can you please come up? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mokwando. Very interesting presentation. I think you deserve a clap for the presentation.
I agree. I agree. Okay.
Yeah, so the import of what he said is that maybe we should shift to talking about the economic benefits instead of just the climate and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sedega. There was another hand up, Mrs. Ganza. Can I have some assistance with my microphone, please?
Thank you very much. Mr. Mankwando, thank you so much. Yesterday when we were coming, I came with this wonderful man and we had a lot of discussions. I really enjoyed listening to him. My question is only one. We see this opportunity of the charcoal opportunity. Now you mentioned that if we go to the sawmill and then we take the waste, then my question is, how can the charcoal burner in Upper East, in a certain village, go to a sawmill and they don't even care about sawmills? Theirs is that the trees are there and they can cut it. How do we also get their mindset that they can use the branches or all the other opportunities that you presented here so that they don't deplete or spoil?
answer before the next question comes. That's a very good question, interesting one, and thanks so much. You're perfectly right. How many sawmills do we have in in fact, the five northern regions? We seldom. There is almost none. If you see a sawmill, maybe they've come to the south, taking them there, and they are now trimming them. So you are perfectly right. And I'm going to answer that question linked to the final part of your question. How do we get them to understand that, look, it's not about survival, there is money in it. So last 2 years, and do something. So it's been done. Early part of this year, I engaged the Sisala chiefs within the Upper West. They have also banned the commercial production of charcoal, and they're resorting to the woodlot system. So it's catching fire. It's catching fire. I hope I've answered your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makwando. I'm very happy for this presentation. I didn't want to go to the charcoal again, but just let me ask, since you are doing physics, I wanted to ask, how do we standardize the production of charcoal, if you can add up to that? And then anytime you get to the African Union Agenda 2063, you said that is dear to your heart. However, when I look at the years 2063, then I ask, so are we the people here to change it, or we are, yes, uh, 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 then the conclusion is that are we ready or something? I don't know. But, and then again, if you can just give us a hint about some of the things that is in there that is actually dear to your heart. I believe that's not possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your first question is also very important. So as my big lady was introducing me, I serve on the Ghana Standards Authority for developing standards for charcoal production. And we have actually come up with standards for charcoal production. And some of the standards include not burning the charcoal the traditional way, excavating the ground and burying it. No. Forget about even the impact on the environment. I don't always want to talk impact. I want to talk money. When you use the earth mount method, and let's say you put 20 tons of wood down there, after you finish carbonizing the charcoal, you are likely to get 3 tons out. You've used hard cash to buy the feedstock. You've achieved 3 tons. The efficiency is low. The lower the efficiency, the more you lose money. Per the standard, we recommend that you use brick kiln Ghana or Accra into the commercial capital of Africa. And the baby I'm talking about is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That is part of Agenda 2063. Of late, for the past 1 year, have we had any coup d'etat, or apart from South Sudan where the guns are still loud? One of the other tenant of the Agenda 2063 is to silence the guns. We want to live in a peaceful and prosperous continent. The third one is free movement. As you may imagine, trade is not only the movement of goods, it's also the movement of human beings. And I don't know if you've ever moved to Cote d'Ivoire or Togo. It is hell. It costs you more to travel from Ghana to Senegal than to travel from Ghana to London. Agenda 2063 wants to liberalize mobility. That is why President John Mahama,
the level of government commitment to the implementation of the CE, because you mentioned that it involves money and what have you. And now that we are also under World Bank's bailout, do we have enough? Yes, the IMF bailout. Do we have enough to support this thing? Because this comes with a cost and so forth.
cost benefit analysis. Look, if I were government, no, I mean, no. So you see, I don't even know how to put it because when I don't like talking about government. Can you imagine, let's just say the Brazil example I gave you. Government has provided funding. The student has been able to get breakthrough. He is exporting the product to USA. Two things. Number one, money. Government is getting 30%. So like it's an investment. Number two, national pride. I hope you get my point. So it makes sense if government invest in these things. It makes sense in, I mean, monetary sense. It makes sense. Forget about the environment and the other stuff.
The rate is high. And then secondly, the incubation center, if you can just detail it a bit for me briefly, who will support it and how will they run? Thank you.
Start with the incubation center. Ashesi University has done it. They have an incubation center. They call it the Climate Innovation Center by Ashesi University. They've done it. And they've been receiving applications from young people who have startups. You get the point. As I indicated, the Brazilian government instituted it in the university because the government says, look, in fact, you and me, we learned in the Bible, or well, what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and suffers the loss of his soul? The Brazilian government said, what shall it, shall it benefit us? We have students coming out with thesis, but it has no impact on our socioeconomic development. It is policy. Somebody sitting down and thinking and investing. I hope you get my point. So similar thing could be done in Lagos, here in UST. As I said, Ashesi University has a resource. It depends on the source. If you or let me say the livestock farm, it goes to the biodigester. The biodigester's main product is biogas. There are other byproducts. The slurry. The slurry is like semi-liquid that is rich in fertilizer. So you use it to apply for organic farming. Then the water is used for watering your lawns. In fact, you can even use it for washing your car. It is treated. I hope you get my point. So wastewater has been transformed. Instead of it being discarded into the sea or somewhere, it's been transformed as a secondary resource to achieve a goal. The pastors speak, they just tell you the thing is rosy. Just say, yes, I believe it, and things will come. You're right. If you look at some of the policy interventions that I proposed, they are to address certain challenges. And let me just mention some of them. Financing is a challenge. For which reason we are advocating for that incubating system within the universities where government provides financing. Number two, training, technical expertise. It's not everybody who will be able to recover copper from the circuit board of a phone. It needs certain expertise, and that is training. Not many young people are capable of, are trained in those things, which is a challenge. Number three, which is the biggest.
Okay. I have two quick announcements. You've just received a QR code that says participants perception on water conservation. Kindly scan the QR code and fill out the Google form for us. It's just 4 questions, just takes you about a minute. Kindly fill out the form for us. Dr. Annie has misplaced her key card. The number is 2008. Please, anybody with a card, seen it, found it, kindly let us know so that we can return it to her. She's a bit uneasy right now. She's looking through everything. Please, let's help her find her key card. Thank you. There's a question on the floor. Okay.
Oh, Mr.
Madam
Mkwano,
Vivian.
thank you very much for this insightful presentation. You said circular economy is money. Yes. So I want to find out from you, where do we get the equipment for the standardized charcoal? And I hope it is not too expensive for the charcoal producers to buy. Because as it were, if I want to produce charcoal now, I just did the ground, no cost. So if I'm transitioning from that traditional method to a new method, how is the cost like? Such that it will attract the producers to use the technology.
Thank you very much. To answer your questions, I may be forced to come back to government again. You are perfectly right. Most of these, in fact, every kiln can be produced in Ghana. If you take the metal kiln, we have a state institution called Gratis Foundation. They are located at Tema by the cocoa processing company. Opposite some structures that when I see, I cry. And those structures are the silos that Nkrumah built so that we become food sufficient. Today, food suppliers are picketing at buffer stock. You get my point? So that institution called Gratis Foundation, they produce the kilns. If you go to our brothers at Kumasi Magazine, they also produce the kiln. We have some of the bricklayers. They are also able to produce the brick kilns. Back to the main question. How do you buy it? Is it too expensive? So you, instead of one person going for the kiln, you can be 10. So each person can bring 5,000, 5, or even if you cannot afford the 5,000, increase your numbers so that you'll be able to afford it and work as a group. When you work as a group and all of you are level-headed, you are able to reduce the risk by the total number of people in the group. You can share expertise because charcoal production is a group work. I hope you get my business, the business model. When you do that, you'll be able to start. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so yeah, thank you so much. All the things we are discussing, they are all local opportunities, but sincerely, they are all global opportunities. And if we don't position ourselves very well to tap into these opportunities, then somebody in US who has so much capital because of globalization or free movement can now move in and tap these opportunities. And we all know the implications. When they come in, tap the opportunities, they make their money, they are taking it back. Profit what flight. And so the gentleman you said is in Ghana doing the business. He's not a Ghanaian. German. Okay. So the caution now I'm just raising is that these are global opportunities. The opportunities you are mentioning in Ghana are global opportunities. And if you are not careful, if you don't provide the financial services in terms of creating that enabling environment for the local people to tap into these opportunities, somebody will come from Burkina Faso, will come in, tap the opportunities and take the profit back. Somebody from Canada will come, tap the opportunities and then take the profit back. And so we need to try as much as possible to create that enabling environment so that local people will tap into these opportunities and then make a lot of money. Thank you.
That's a good one. I think maybe Eunice and her group may have to organize another one for us to do these business strategies. And anybody who is connected to the internet, another thing to break your jaw, you can Google Al Shabaab, add Somalia, and add charcoal. Al Shabaab for so many years funded their, I don't want to say terrorist activities, but their activities using, say, proceeds from charcoal. In 2015, I had the unpleasant responsibility of working with the UN Security Council to stop charcoal or the seas coming from Somalia. And you know how they did it? When a vessel is arriving at a destination, you know, the vessel will come to Togo, stomach ache, you put it in water and drink. It is your own charcoal, they take it out, add value to it, and bring it to you. If you go to the Accra Mall, there are charcoal, bags of charcoal, and packets of charcoal in the shelves. So that the Eurabes will go, instead of going to Medina Market and then inhaling dust, they just go to the mall. After they buy whatever they have to buy, ice cream, they just pick the bag of charcoal, well packaged from the mall. It is your charcoal that was exported to South Africa and Turkey, remolded and brought back to you and sold at higher prices. Charcoal is not dirty. It is black gold. Thank you.
Dr. Mukwando, the issue of charcoal that you just mentioned about the malls and the packaging. I've seen on telly a couple of times where the byproducts of coconuts, the hard parts are burnt, compressed into charcoal. Now, how can we tap into that? Because I see a lot of coconut sellers after they just throw it by the wayside. How can we find another means of getting that into the system so that we can limit our dependency on the trees for charcoal and also buy into that? Because I know there's this company, I think it's in Ashaman or so, that's what he does. He's a young Ghanaian man, but he just goes around collecting the hard husk and then turning into charcoal. Is there a way we can encourage more people into that sector instead of going into the felling of trees to produce charcoal?
There's one young man who made a lot of, became popular in the news. My very good friend and younger brother called Zako. Zako, he converts coconut shells. Yes, it's true. It's done, and he does it. And in fact, another piece of information, the coconut shells charcoal is sold as very high prices. You know, you can convert it into sugar cubes, like those white cubes we used to use those days. You convert the coconut shell charcoal into those cubes. And when you send it to Middle East, the shells were in abundance. What you see in town at where they sell, the quality of the shell cannot produce charcoal, but it can produce another product called cocoa peat. Cocoa peat is used to enhance the fertility of soil. So if you look at those doing green agriculture, the green agriculture producing vegetables, vertical agriculture, they use cocoa peat to nourish the soil for that. So there's still circular economic opportunity there. But the proper coconut shell that can be used for charcoal is found, the hard one, found in Asin North, and in fact, the Asin area and the Takoradi enclave. But now the Chinese come there, go and give them money in advance. So you, the Ghanaian, you will have to book in a year's time to be able to get it. When they get the coconut shells, thank you very much. And I'm glad you've mentioned Zako's challenges. As we speak, he's out of the country. I interact with him on those challenges. And one thing that I want to encourage entrepreneurs is that challenge the system. That is the activist in me talking. Some of our institutions do not actually understand what they are regulating. They don't. And when you go and challenge them, like Ghana police some time ago, if you challenge him, no, you are in trouble. But challenge the system. You can write. Don't go to the office and talk with the officer. Write. And thing is about time. Some of our legal people, you know, did pro bono and take class actions against certain institutions. Because if you don't do and say that, no, I don't want to be victimized, you'll be victimized double in future. So you better carry the cross today before the cross grows branches and become very heavy for you in future. Let's challenge the system. Right, right. So I'm just hoping that Zako's issue will be solved because I am guiding him to petition higher powers. I understand his problem and he's been dealt with unfairly. Thank you very much.
Um, Microphone. Prof, microphone.
Hello. Okay, so thank you very much. Prosper, excellent presentation by all standards. So in developing countries, we have a problem. And from the economics point of view, we call it political economy.